Hi everyone. Back in 1962, on a runway near Bristol, England, a strange silver aircraft rolled onto the runway. It was long, thin, and gleaming, because unlike almost every other aircraft in history, its skin wasn't aluminum, it was stainless steel. The engineers who built it called it the Flaming Pencil. The Air Ministry had spent the equivalent of hundreds of millions of pounds in today's money to build it, and on its very best day, in the hands of its bravest test pilots, it could barely stay supersonic for a few minutes before running out of fuel. This is the story of the Bristol Type 188, one of the strangest, most expensive, and most quietly important failures in British aviation history. In the mid-1950s, Britain was worried. The Americans and the Soviets were racing toward Mach 3 flight, and the Air Ministry wanted a bomber/reconnaissance aircraft, so they came with the Avro 730 that could cruise at 3 times the speed of sound. But there was a problem nobody had really solved yet: heat. At those speeds, air friction alone could turn a plane's skin into a frying pan, hot enough to soften and twist regular aluminum. Before anyone could think about building a Mach 3 bomber, someone had to actually figure out what flying at those temperatures did to a plane. So in February 1953, the Air Ministry gave Bristol Aeroplane Company a weird assignment: don't build a weapon, build a flying laboratory instead. Bristol's engineers, led by the man who'd later helped father Concorde, Archibald Russell, made a radical choice. Instead of aluminum, they built the Type 188 almost entirely from stainless steel, grades tough enough to survive skin temperatures pushing 500 degrees Celsius. And here's the catch: practically nobody had tried building an entire aircraft from this much stainless steel. Regular rivets just weren't going to cut it. Each fastener had to be custom made. So the team used a method called puddle welding, fusing steel panels together under a blanket of argon gas. It was so tricky and unfamiliar, just mastering that technique set the whole project back by years. In the end, they rolled out a 22-meter stretch of shiny, unpainted steel, so razor-sharp along its wing edges that workers needed special gloves to handle it safely. The designers even put a fridge system in the cockpit just in case things got too hot for the pilot. They built 2 prototypes, XF923 and XF926, each with 2 Havilland Gyron Junior turbojets, throwing out about 14,000 pounds of thrust apiece once the afterburner kicked in. On paper, this was supposed to be Britain's big answer to America's X-15. In reality, it became a masterclass in how things can go sideways. XF923 flew for the first time in April 1962, almost 10 years after work began. And right away, the fundamental problem was obvious. To stay supersonic, both engines had to run full afterburner constantly, while full afterburner chews through fuel at a ridiculous rate. Plus, with the heavy steel body, they didn't have space for bigger fuel tanks. So a typical Type 188 flight lasted about 25 minutes, just enough for takeoff, a short supersonic sprint, then straight back down to Earth. The whole point of the aircraft was to study thermal soak, what happens to an airframe after sustained high-speed flight. But the Type 188 could never sustain high speed for long enough to generate the data it was built to collect. Its top recorded speed, Mach 1.88, never even reached the Mach 2 target, let alone the Mach 3 regime the Avro bomber would have needed. By 1964, the Avro 730 was cancelled, the test results kept disappointing, and the Air Ministry had had enough. They pulled the plug, and the bill came out to around £20 million at the time, the most expensive research plane program Britain had ever tried, with just 70 flights between both prototypes to show for it in the end. The XF923 didn't get a graceful retirement. They blew it up as a gunnery target at show burriness. XF926 survived, and you can still see it today at the RAF Museum Cosford. Its stainless steel skin looking as solid as ever after 60 years, not a crack anywhere. And that's the real twist. The Type 188 failed at nearly everything on the checklist, but because its stainless steel experiment didn't really work, the Concorde team decided to stick with regular aluminum, picking a safer Mach 2.2 speed limit. And the tough lessons learned with the Gyron Junior engines fed directly into the Olympus 593, the heart of both Concorde and the TSR-2 plane. So the flaming pencil never managed long runs at supersonic speed, and it never brought back the data it was meant to. But if you look at the Concorde design and listen to the Olympus engine's roar, you'll find a little piece of this strange steel jet humming along inside. If you enjoyed this story of British aviation ambition and its occasional spectacular expense, make sure to subscribe for more forgotten history from the Cold War skies. Thanks for watching.